So the 11.1 finale cinematic is absolutely crazy. Not only did we get a legit glimpse at Koresh and a giant void portal, but looks like that Ethereal that stole the Dark Heart is not in fact working for Xal'atath, and he seems to be working against her, seeing how legit shocked she was when they stole it. Who really could be this Ethereal, because we did previously talk that Xal'atath could have an Ethereal origin herself, and was this cinematic really a hint that we will be going in 11.1 to Koresh? Blizard told us by the end of 11.1 we will know where we will be going next. Are we really going to get a whole new void planet as a patch zone? And if so, something absolutely crazy is going to be happening there if this is the finale of the War Within. I mean, this is the Void Realm. This is where we might actually get a glimpse at an actual Void Lord, and ultimately we know Xal'atath will succeed because the invasion is planned for midnight and she is here to stay. So is Koresh the next big zone, and who is this Ethereal guy? Is he even on our side? You can actually play War Within on your phone with Awesome, this video's sponsor. Check in on your characters or just play the game, as you can control your PC with your phone completely free. Awesome is super easy to use. Check out the link and download the PC and the phone app and just connect it. The free version itself is amazing. You can control your desktop, transfer files, but the real deal is the game version. It has custom keyboards for various games other than just WoW, and you can enjoy AFK gaming at any time, anywhere with game sound. Make sure to use my code DORON to get 7 days completely free, only for the first 200 people. Start Mode Gaming is they got hot sales up to 40% off on Pro and Game versions. Check out Awesome. So if you guys have been following the more obscure lore for the past few years, this literally comes at no surprise, because Blizzard has been hinting at this Ethereal return for ages now. I mean, we've gotten various items and hints that Ethereals are following us, they're watching what we're doing, they're coming to Azeroth, doing things kinda behind the scenes and preparing for what is to come. I honestly think this is even related to the Shadowlands, as those broker guys were incredibly sus. They must be related in some way. However, Ethereal hints have been all over the place for quite a few years now. Now, in the new cinematic with the ending of 11.1, we see the Ethereals actually stealing the Dark Heart from Xal'atath, and she seems genuinely shocked, and we also see what appears to be Koresh in the distance. Some of you might remember that Blizzard interview from a few weeks back, or a month or two back, where they told us that by the end of 11.1, we should know where we are going next, which got many to speculate about how Koresh could really be the 11.2 zone, and that we may be getting a whole planet as a part of the final patch of this expansion. However, before we get into that, I want to discuss who this Ethereal is and how did he even outsmart a villain like Xal'atath, why did he steal the Dark Heart, and what does he want. So if you followed my channel, I've actually already talked about this a bit more than a month ago, like 6 weeks ago. We data mined this happening in 11.1. We knew that the Ethereal stole the artifact, we just didn't know whether he did it on Xal'atath's orders so that she can just pretend it is stolen and not have to do her part of the bargain, or whether this really was a third party that was getting involved. By all accounts right now, with the cinematic here, it really does seem like this was indeed a third party and that the Ethereals are doing their own thing. In that video, I also talked about a really interesting theory that still hasn't been disproven, that I feel like adds a lot more context on who Xal'atath could be. This is the theory that Xal'atath is an Ethereal herself, or was in the past until she betrayed him. Literally the Ethereal void version of Archimonde and killed Jaden. I'll make that long story super short, but it makes sense on a few intriguing bits of evidence. The Ethereal planet was destroyed, we never actually saw their mortal forms, so we have no idea what they look like. What we can see today is that they're just energy guys with bandages, but we don't know what they used to look like. Their planet was destroyed by the Void Lords, and almost certainly some Ethereals sided with the Void in order to get power while this was happening. Much like how Archimonde and Kil'jaeden betrayed their own planet Argus and joined Sargeras and the Legion. The main bit of evidence is that the Ethereals seem very familiar with her. You can see that the Locust Walker knows exactly what Xal'atath is at the start of the War Within. The Ethereals are following her, and most interestingly, now in the new cinematic, you can just see the expression on her face when she learns the Ethereals stole it. She genuinely seems disturbed. The other bits of evidence are kind of all over the place. Some are the naming conventions, which is actually similar to the Ethereal names and the name Xal'atath, and the fact that she actually has has some artifacts on her body that a lot of other Ethereals do. Keep in mind, I mean, she is, after all, just possessing a Void Elf body. We also don't know what she looks like, but she seems to have added the bandages on her legs and a few Void-like trinkets that we've seen the Ethereals usually wear. So the theory wasn't that she was just a Void Ethereal, but that she might have been something like maybe one of the ancient rulers of Kalesh that helped destroy the planet, and for this, she was turned into an actual Void being, and she is now something else, but she started as an Ethereal. Same parallel of how Kil'jaeden was initially just an Eredar, but later he became a full-on demon and a super powerful figure on the cosmological level. So now the real question is, who really is this Ethereal, and why did he decide to steal the Dark Heart, and is he really taking it to Kalesh, and even more importantly, why is he doing this? So in my opinion, I think this Ethereal has a very long history with Xal'atath, that he didn't just learn about her mission right now and who she is, and that expression of Xal'atath was more of a not these guys again, instead of who could it possibly be. It really seemed like the Ethereals were the worst possible guys to get the hold of this artifact. However, we do have two possibilities going on right now. As we know, the Ethereals are not always the good guys. In fact, some of them are Void affiliated and are working for the Warlords, while others are using the Void to fight for good, sort of similar to Warlocks using Fel to defend Azeroth. It is definitely possible that this guy could be working for another Warlord, because we have learned that there are multiple Warlords in the past and they're not exactly a united force, and as far as we know, Xal'atath is loyal to one Warlord in particular, Dimensius the All Devouring. The other possibility is that this guy could be on our side and that he may be trying to use this artifact to do something with Kalesh and potentially even save his planet. I mean, what really is the Dark Heart? It is still very vague, but so far we know it can absorb energy like it did with Dalaran, and all hints point towards Xal'atath trying to use it to complete the awakening of Azeroth. Could he be trying to use it to scoop up the Void from Kalesh? Because as far as we know, Kalesh is just a complete Void wreck at the moment, similar to how Argus is a complete Fel wreck. Or could he be using it to attack the Void entities there and to damage Xal'atath's plan? As I said, the Ethereals are definitely aware of what is really going on that we still don't know yet. However, we do kind of already have some spoilers for what will happen, because it was confirmed that Xal'atath will survive the war within. She is here for the whole World Soul Saga, and we also know the Void invasion of Azeroth will actually succeed. I mean, we know what Midnight is about. Again, we don't really know what the true purpose of the Dark Heart is, whether this will be what will trigger the Void invasion in Midnight, but it must be a key instrument, since they have been foreshadowing this artifact since the middle of Dragonflight. However, I don't necessarily think this artifact is that big of a deal like it is key. I mean, after all, Deathwing created it for his own purpose. I'm pretty sure the Void was able to convert a planet and launch an invasion without Deathwing's projects. However, I feel like for her, right now, this is a really convenient tool. What will happen soon will heavily depend on what 11.2 will be about, and I think we will know very soon what is really going on. Now, after Undermine, we are going to get into the really good part, the juicy part of the story. I think we'll finally get answers to a lot of these questions we've been speculating about for years now. However, I do think it is a big possibility that Kalesh will indeed be the 11.2 zone that will be the big finale and bridge into Midnight. See, at the moment, we only really have determined evidence for a zone called Rootlands, which was initially supposed to be in the base game, so it's very likely they already built this in the past. So really, I mean, technically, realistically, Rootlands could totally pass as the 11.1.5 zone, which means it shouldn't be much bigger than the Siren Isle, for example. However, for these two major patches that Blizzard has planned for each expansion, something like Kalesh is totally realistic. I mean, we did get the whole Emerald Dream in Dragonflight, we did get a whole new Goblin zone and a giant city called Undermine right now, so a planet like Kalesh is now actually a really big possibility. I mean, after all, this isn't really a whole planet like an expansion-worthy planet like Draenor. I mean, this planet should in a way be in worse shape than even Outland, potentially even worse than Argus, since it was destroyed in ancient history. So really, this could just be one or two zones that are heavily Void themed. I think 11.1.5 and 11.1.7 we will be dealing with the Azeroth stuff like the Root Lands, Haranir, the Old God Blood, maybe a Titan facility or two, but the Kalash 11.2 patch, if it does happen, could be the big and the ultimate culmination. Like something legit crazy could happen here, as after all, this is like a half Void Realm, similar to how Argus is in the Twisted Nether. Xal'atath is obviously, as I said, going to succeed, but we still don't know how and what she will actually do. So far, the portal and that cliffhanger does seem like I have a hint that we'll be following the Ethereals through the portal, but probably not right now. I think here we are going to learn who Xal'atath really is, what her connection to the Ethereal really is, what the Ethereals want, and if it is, as I said, the Void Realm, we might even get a glimpse at a Void Lord or two. I think something really bad is going to happen in Kalash, but the consequences probably won't be immediate. We should get 11.2.5, which will set the ground for Midnight, and I think we will only really find out what really happened once Midnight is launched. I somehow feel like they're going to leave the war within on a cliffhanger, with Xal'atath ultimately succeeding and overcoming the Ethereals that are at the moment pushing a plan we just don't know anything about. Thanks for watching. Check out my video on how the old gods may have actually been defeated by Azeroth before the Titans by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.